I don't think we did halacha hey yet. No, we did, well, I know we didn't do halacha hey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's we did halacha dal. That was the one with the whole Gerson mess up.
Yeah.
That was the last thing we did. So after halacha hey, which is on this. It's not chav. Yeah, chav. Okay. Einos name. It's actually very easy stuff tonight. Einos name Lola Bayer. The Lola Bayer. You can't give per shmita as wages to a buyer. Now the Gemara, even though the Mishnah says the buyer means somebody who draws water from the well. It's going to be evident, self-evident from the Gemara that the Gemara did not have the words Lola buyer in the Mishnah. Okay, so this appears here, but the Gemara did not have it, and that we'll see in a minute. Lola bala nor to a bathhouse keeper, Lola sapar nor to a barber, Lola sapar nor to a sailor. One cannot give per shmita as wages to any of these artisans. Avonosin hu buyer lishtos. You can give to a person who's bringing up well water for you, so you can bring him. You can give him the water to drink, which I assume means that you can give him not water, because water doesn't have pei or shmita isser, but rather wine to drink as he's pulling up the stuff from the well. To all these individuals, if you give a pei or shmita as not as wages, but rather as a gift, so you're allowed to give a gift from shmita fruit. Now, see, he obviously didn't have those words in our Mishnah, so he inserts in the Mishnah that you can't give pei or shmita as wages to a mevayer, to a person who's giving you water from the well. Now the Gemara is going to continue assuming that the Mishnah has a reason in front of us does not have the words Lolavayar, and therefore the Gemara goes on to have a discussion which can only be understood in light of that phenomenon. There's a contradiction in the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Over there, which is in the Tosefta, he says you can use shmita fruit to acquire water and salt. That here he says you cannot give the person who brings you water from the well shmita fruit as his wages. So it's a contradiction. Can you give it for water or not? Rabbi Yossi said, Ma pligi, no. Where does Rabbi Yossi argue and say that you cannot give water to the person who brings the water up cannot give pei or shmita as wages? The person who brings water up from the well, b'shel tashmisho, when he's bringing the water up from the well to irrigate your fields, or such like. Avo b'shtia, but he's giving you the water in order for you to drink. Av Rabbi Yossi moeded the shar, even Rabbi Yossi concedes you can give him wages from pei or shmita. Have a matana of a nosin bar lishtos. If that's the case, so who is the Tana of our Mishnah again? Assuming the words Lola buyer do not appear in our Mishnah, who is the Tana that you can give the person who draws water up from the well to drink from pei or shmita? So it says, well, Rabbi Yossi, it's going like Rabbi Yossi, it's going like Rabbi Yossi, meaning that when he's bringing up the water from the well for you to drink. Now I understand. I read the Mishnah wrong. Avameisul bayar lishtos means when the seifa, when it says in the Mishnah you give the buyer to drink, it means when the buyer is bringing up the water for you to drink. Not you give him pei or shmita to drink, but the buyer is bringing up the water for you to drink from. So then you can pay him in that case, and that's like Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi still draws a distinction that the way he's bringing the water up for irrigation, you can't pay him, but where he's bringing the water up for the purpose of drinking, then you can pay him. Rabbi Yossi. So that's one opinion. Okay, that Rabbi Yossi draws that distinction. Rabbi Yossi, not Rabbi Yossi, the time of Rabbi Yossi Bar Zavda, the Amoira. He says, Divra Koli, everybody agrees. There's no concept. There's no Tana who does not agree with this dichotomy. It's MS, everybody agrees with this. Kan Lord and Kan Lebehema, depending on whether it's going for a human being or a animal. In other words, when can you give a buyer to, when you pay him with Peir Shemitah, when he's giving you the water for your own personal drinking? When can you not pay a buyer from Peir Shemitah when he's bringing up the water for an animal to drink? Okay? Tanya, now we're going to go off on a tangent. Tanya, we learned to Raisa. Mayan Chobnei Ir, a well, a spring, which belongs to people of the city. Haim V'Acherim. They draw their water from that well or that spring, and others draw their water from that spring. People of another city. Haim Kolam Achim, since where the spring springs up in their city, they have first dibs on the well, on the spring. Achim with Behemtam. What if other people from other cities want to drink from that spring water, but they have animals which they want to give this water to drink? So Achim Koimilu Behemtam. In that case, they have to allow the other human beings to take precedence over their own animals. What if they have laundry to do, and other people need the water in other cities, require the water for their basic sustenance? So it says their laundry comes over the other city's drinking supply. Where's going to explain that? It goes without saying that we're talking about their own laundry, and laundry of the other city, their laundry takes precedence. Rabbi Yochanan said, who says that laundering has an element of actual, life support, and therefore their laundry can take precedence over the basic drinking water of another city. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi. The Tanya we learned, ain't nosti man, one cannot get used for Shemitah fruit, lo mishra, not for soaking flax or whatever, and lo kvisa, nor for the purpose of using in order to make a wash. Rabbi Yossi matir b'shekvisa. Rabbi Yossi says you can use Shemitah fruit in order to make a wash, in order to do laundry. Rabbi Yossi. So this is a contradiction to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi Shita in other places, because Tamanu Omer in another place he says, which is in the Dorim, that Ein Rechitza Chai Nefesh, that your bathing is not considered to be an essential component of human life support. They call Omer Akvisa Chai Nefesh. You're saying that laundry is. So how do you reconcile those two opinions? Rabbi Mona said no. These opinions are reconcilable. A person can make do, literally roll around without washing. A person can make do without washing his clothes. So it seems like if you don't wash your clothes, they get germs of some sort and they make you sick. So therefore, it's more important to wash your clothes than it is to wash your body. And by extension, we say that it's more important for you to have the wherewithal to wash your clothes as opposed to the next city down the line having the wherewithal for them to actually have basic water for their drinking supply.
Obviously, he was not an istinus. He didn't mind him not being.
Well, he was a quasi-istinus because he minded his begotten not being clean, right? Now, really off on a tangent. Yehuda Ish Hutzi, Yehuda from the town of Hutzi, Avi Tamir Rimarta, he secluded himself in a cave, Tlosi Yomin, for 3 days. Boil making a hadni told me he wanted to find, literally means to understand the logic, but here it means wanted to find the source in a pasuk. How do we know that the drinking supply of this city, where the spring comes out of the ground, takes precedence over another city? At the end of 3 days, he came up empty-handed. So he came to Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, who's the town of Rabbi Yossi. Amar Lei, so he said, Hey Navisa, where were you? Amar Lei, so he said, Avidis Tamir b'Marta Tlos Yom, I was in seclusion in a cave for 3 days. Voila Meikam al Harin Tam, and I wanted to know the pasuk from where we learned. If a spring comes out of my city, in our city, that we get the water supply first over the next city. Kachal Rabbi Vardimas Berei. Do you have Vardimas?
Yeah.
So Rabbi,
Actually, Avi Rudimas.
Okay, same idea. Yeah. So he called Rabbi Vardimas his son. Amar Lane, he said, Rabbi Yitzchak said to his son Rabbi Vardimas, Agiv Lain Tama, respond what the pasuk is. How we know that the life tree, the drinking supply of city 1, where the spring comes out of the ground, takes precedence over the drinking supply of city 2. Amar Lei, Sarvadimah said, there's a pasuk. Tiyena ha'arim ha'ela. What do you have next?
Tiena ear v'ear.
Okay, so he adds in the end of the pasuk. I'm not sure why, but Tiena ha'arim ha'ela ear v'ear umigrashes v'aseh. Let these cities be. It's a pasuk of Yeshua. Let these cities be, each city and its open space around it. And we darshan Tiena as Tichyena ear v'ear. Let each city survive independently, right? V'acharkach, and only after each city survives does it distribute the water then to Migrasheh, to its open space, and the open space or the surrounding environs, only subsequently. Amar Leis, Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta said, Man garamach, who caused you not to know this pasuk? So he said this to Yuda Ishutzi, the loyal Laptim Chaverach. You should learn with a chavrusa. In fact, you didn't learn with chavrusa, is what deprived you from the wherewithal to perceive that this pasuk is the basis for the halacha. Okay? Says the Mishnah further.
You know, the Bible uses hayacha kodmin on just inside a spur. You know, of course, it's obviously a different case. We were talking about rodate or something.
Right.
So,
Right.
but there they don't resort to a pasuk. I mean, here they have to resort to a pasuk versus a tzad svar.
But there, in the famous case, it's talking about where the water belongs to you. You have a canteen in the desert. Here, the water doesn't belong to the city because it's watershed water. So it could be that there's a difference. Perhaps not, but it could be there's a difference. Okay, halacha vav. Teinim shel Shevi'is. Now, one is allowed to harvest during Shemitah, but ain't kotim asam muktzah. One is not allowed to dry them in the normal place, which is called the muktzah. But you can now dry them in an empty, ruined area, meaning with a shinui. To dry them in some other place where you normally don't do it. Ein dorchen ovim begas. One is not allowed to press grapes in a normal wine press. But you can press them in a large bowl. And you can't you can't press olives in a normal press with a normal beam. But you can crush the olives and then put them into a small press, which is called the bodido, whatever. And that way you can be able to say the Allah of Shemitah and at the same time get some usage of your fruit in the normal way. Rabbi Shimon Omer, of talking over Beis Abad, you can even grind the olives in the olive press, as long as the actual pressing is done with the shinui. Yeah, you don't have that?
No.
Okay, so I have a Shomer of Tochen who based about a machlis about it. You can even grind in a normal press, and then, however, afterwards, you have to put it into a small press to finish up the job. Okay? I'm surprised I don't have it. No, it's not a Gemara. Okay, maybe you'll have it later on. Says Gemara Ksiv. It says, Esfir tzircho lo siktor. You should not harvest that which grows wild in your field during the Shemitah year. And this we learn only that the normal type of harvest is forbidden, but not a harvest with a shinui. Rav Hila said, I'm not talking about the sfichim which are forbidden to harvest on Shemitah because they grew in a field on Shemitah year. What's going on sfichim which are permissible, meaning that they grew mostly in the 6th year. So nonetheless, it says when you harvest them, you have to harvest them with a shinui. Rabbi Mona said, this is necessarily only to speak about when they grew on their own. You might say since they grew on their own, they're permissible even without any type of shina. One can harvest in normal fashion. So it says that has to be. That's why you have to tell us. That's author to harvest. Then I should have to process any of the stuff in normal fashion. You have to do a shina on it. Tana, we learned to the brisa. As fiche katzircha lo siv tzor your lo siktor, the wild growth of your harvest. You should not harvest during Shemitah. That's invein izrach lo siktor, and the wine also you should not press. Mina shomer ba'aretz iata boter. What does it mean? You're not allowed to harvest that which was safe kept by the owner, because during Shemitah everything is supposed to be hefker, right? So anything the owner safe kept, you're not allowed to harvest. But you're allowed to harvest in a normal fashion that you're taking from hefker. Now getting back to what we began with, what does it mean now to harvest in the normal fashion? We said, Taim shel Shevi'is, the figs of Shevi'is, when you dry them, you're not allowed to dry them in normal fashion in some sort of designated area, but you can do it in any ruin, anywhere which is ad hoc available. One is not allowed also to press grapes in a grape press. You're allowed to press the grapes in a large mixing bowl. Could be. One is not allowed to make olives in the normal olive press, which is sometimes called the beis bad, or there's another name called the could be. I assume they're somewhat different. Well, this is my raya that is somewhat different, because the rabbis are matir to the what you call in kutbi, to crush them in kutbi. So here we see that the kutbi can't be the same as a beis habad. Rabbi Yochanan Hori Le'iland Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yochanan Paskin for those of the members of the house of Rabbi Yanai after Rabbi Yanai had died, Litcham Be'Rechaim, that they're allowed to grind the grain on Shvi'is, Rabbi Shimon, the lasus bekutfi, but on the other end he ruled like a lakula, like Rabbanan, which is that one is allowed to get involved in pressing one's date olives, even in a regular olive press called a kutfi. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan Horei, Rabbi Yochanan Paskin Elaine, the Rabbi Yanai, to those people who pressed olives in Rabbi Yanai's household, Shlo lo yilu notlim badeim b'scharan. Oh, you don't have that, right?
We have Shlo notlim schar badeim.
Schar badeim, yes, badeim scharan. Shemen. So what it means is the badeim, Shlo yilu notlim badeim, the olive pressers should not take their wages in oil. Why shouldn't they take their wages in oil? Because oil has Kedusha Shvi'is, so you're not allowed to use it to pay obligations. Elamos, they have to use money. Time we learn donkey drivers and the porters. Anybody who produces on Shvi'is, if you pay them with Shvita fruit, to become Shemitah. Rabbi Zira said, this price is even talking about a case where you're paying off the guy with fruit which is mutter. The Karvanaki says even before biur. Maus scharan shvius. So what are you supposed to do with the fact that the wages are shmita? Shunatli mashu osim scharan b'shvius shvius. So we have to say that they do get paid obviously for their work, but in order to give them, it must be given to them as a gift, not as an actual wages, because if it's given as wages, then it is forbidden to do so. Why is it forbidden to do so if it's given actual wages? Because of the Takana the Rabbanan, right? Rabbanan said you're not allowed to give Peirush Shemitah as wages. But here it's about a case where you gave them as a gift. That's okay. Not making myself clear? You gave Peirush Shemitah as wages, that's prohibited. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to pay an artisan, a craftsman, a worker with Peirush Shemitah. But you can give him a gift to Peirush Shemitah. It's okay. So as we're saying here, you can't give the badotim, the olive pressers, wages in Shemitah fruit, but you can give them a gift of Shemitah fruits. Okay, that's not prohibited in the prohibition the Torah gave of schora. Okay? This is all assuming, by the way, that, alright, never mind. Says more for the Rabbi Hillel said, you have the place? I skipped the place. I skipped.
Yeah,
Yeah, I skipped. V'had or Rabbi Yochanan. That which Rabbi Yochanan passed in the Bei Rabbi Yanai. Those are the pronounced Rabbi Yanai. Shelo you nothing but deim schar, but the deim schar shemen elamos. He said that they can't take as a reward oil, only money. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemia all read lawn that he passed like Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia. So this is talking about the way the Kavanaki points out, name of the Rav Fulda. Yerushalmi knew somehow or another that Rabbi Yochanan had asked the people in the house of Rabbi Yanai to pay the olive pressers with whatever pay Shemitah, even if the olive pressers knew it was a gift, even if they knew it was a gift and not wages. So he's saying that that's Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemia who were machmir, and we don't paskin like them. As long as they assume it's a gift, it's permissible for them to take.
There's no Marasayan issue here?
No Marasayan issue. I don't know why not, but there isn't. Okay? You know what? I'm tired enough tonight that I'm going to stand up. Hopefully I'm falling asleep. Thank you. Amar Rabbi Hila. B'mekatfei. Let me just turn this on. Let's go and prepare the Babli for tomorrow morning. All right. Yeah. Rabbi Hila said, "V'mekatfei perus avera he masnisa." Rabbi Hila said that our mission is talking about guys who are bringing in fruit which is perus avera. Now this is fruit saying which is mana beer is already passed and nobody's done beer on them. So therefore, this is fruit in which avera was done. Ma'us chon shmita. So what does it mean when it says their reward, their wages are shmita? It means that their wages are osir. It's not that they have kedusha shvius, that their wages are osir. Ki hadam Rabbi Yavo v'Shabbi Yochanan yayin nesach. A person works in yayin nesach to help people who are producing yayin nesach. Knas kinsum. We find them that they lose any profits. The kok knas kinsum here too. We find them that they lose any possible wages they could have made by dealing with the Shemitah fruit, which is osir. Now, a couple of things we want to sum up here, which are that, first of all, nowadays we try and avoid the whole problem of osir fruit and mutzar fruit by a device we'll see later in the Mishnah, later in the Masechta, although somewhat obliquely, called otzar basting. That means that no individual actually grows the fruit. The fruit is being grown by basting. Every individual who grows is an agent of basting. In that case, it's possible that there is no issue of shamur, and there is no issue of biur. We don't know that yet, but that's the head that we're going to speak about later. I don't know yet fully myself, but that's that we're going to speak about later on. In that case, the Chazon said not only is the otzar basting permissible, but in that case you can even work the harvest in the normal fashion that the harvest is harvested. In other words, for instance, the Chazon brings down that you can press the olives in an olive press, a normal olive press, and the grapes in a normal grape sort.
Grape press sounds good to me.
Grape press. You know where they step with their feet on the. So you can even use that because the otzar basting overcomes the problem of Shemitah.
So that sounds like Mechiras Chametz.
Yeah, but it still has Kedusha Shemitah.
Yeah.
It still has Kedusha Shemitah. It doesn't overcome the Shemitah problem altogether.
Okay.
What it just means is that one doesn't have to make the Shinuyim, which one would have to make in one's own fruit in order to be able to harvest it. Okay, those Shinuyim you have to make because it's not, in order to demonstrate it's not really a fruit. But it's not really anybody's fruit. It's
when
basically
they have mechira during Shemitah,
yeah.
doesn't the fruit?
No, the whole no.
It belongs to an Arab, but it's still in Eretz Yisrael proper.
Doesn't matter. There's no kedusha shvius. According to those holding the heter mechir works, there's no kedusha shvius. There is one other thing which is interesting, which he brings down here: the machlokes between the Chazon Ish and the Badatz. Whether if you have stuff which grew during Shemitah, which is not tzvichim, so you can eat it, but it was shomor. The owner was not properly mafkir it. So the Chazon Ish holds b'diavad, you can eat it. But that's Yerushalmi holds by the Evid, you can't eat it. It's absolutely also because you didn't keep the mitzvah of Shemitah to be mafkir. So this is a controversy which still, so to speak, rages nowadays. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. Halacha Zayin. Ein mevashlim yerek shel Shevi'is b'shemen shel truma. One is not allowed to cook a vegetable of Shemitah in truma oil because it's going to ruin. I shouldn't say ruin. It's going to curtail the amount of time one has to eat the truma. Why is that? Why is it going to curtail? Because of the amount of beer. That's right. Because at some point you're going to have to renounce it from your house. So therefore, right. So one is therefore not allowed, in order not to cause a loss of the truma, one is not allowed to cook a regular vegetable in truma oil during Shemitah. The shaloi ve'el de psul, nor that it shouldn't come with de psul, because obviously the time of biur, everything which is around it's got to be eradicated. Rav Shimon says it's permissible. Okay? It's a little bit complicated here, the Gemara. Very little complicated, but a little bit. Tabatzim, we learned over there. Uvekulan, by all karbanos, hakwanim, rashoim, kohanim are permitted l'shanos b'achilosim to vary the way they eat it. Ulachon tzuyim b'dit the karbanos roasted, shluikim highly cooked, mushoim less cooked, lite into chatavli chulin. They can put into the karbanos herbs of chulin and the tavle truma, also herbs of truma, which our Mishnah would seem to prohibit, because our Mishnah holds that if you mix Shemitah with truma, so you're going to curtail the amount of time that truma is edible. Certainly over there by karbanos, where you only get to eat the whole time, maximum 2 days and 1 night, it's going to curtail the permissibility to eat the truma, so therefore there should be a problem. Says more, that's the Rabbi Shimon. Meir Mer, it's actually Bryce is still speaking. Meir Mer lo yitin l'tocha ta'av shel truma. One cannot put the truma spices into the mixture. Shlovi lo yavitz the truma de psul, nor that it shouldn't make the truma no good. Because again, you'll get 2 days and 1 night. Asya chida dehacha. That means that our Mishnah, which is an individual Mishnah, means Rabbi Shimon who said it's permissible. Kistama tamon is like the Stam Mishnah over there, where the Stam Mishnah says that one is allowed to put in truma spices into the roast beef. Now, it's a very important thing to realize here, which is that if you take a look a line or two back, you'll see Divrei Rabbi Shimon. Do you see that? You see that? Yeah. This Gemara didn't have those lines. Okay? That's why we say Asi Yichidah, the Shitas Yochid in our Mishnah, which is Rabbi Shimon Acha. Kistam Adaman is like the Stam Mishnah over there, where there's no attribution over there, where it says the same thing. Meaning that in that case, we say that I'm sorry. What were you about to say? Which one doesn't have Rabbi Shimon?
Well, Rabbi Shimon is actually, our Gemara has it as both. But we have
right.
Who's not in our Mishnah.
Which one are we taking out now?
What we're saying is that Rameir is the Shita of the town.
No. That's not what we're saying. I thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
No, you fell into a trap, which I set inadvertently. I love to set those traps intentionally, but tonight I just set them unintentionally. Again, let's see it inside. The case in Zvachim by Karbonos, which is a Shitas Yochid, me Rabbi Shimon, who says that one is allowed. I fell into my own trap. Scratch that. Hacha, of course, in Aramaic means what? There. This is a hacha, which in Hebrew, in our Aramaic means here, but in their Aramaic means there. Right? The hacha. The case over there, which is a Shitas Yochid Rabbi Shimon, Kistama de Taman, is like no. The Gemara didn't switch yet. Ach on Aramaic can mean either or. Tam on Aramaic can mean either or. At this point, Asir Chida Da'acha means the Shita Asach in our Mishnah, which Rabbi Shimon who says you can cook Shemitah and Truma together, is Kistama de Taman, like the Stam Mishnah over there, because over there, the Gemara takes out the words Divi Rabbi Shimon. The words Divi Rabbi Shimon says Rabbi Shimon holds you allowed to put Truma and Karbanas together. That appears by us as Divi Rabbi Shimon, but it there appears, in their Gemaras at least, as a Stam, without any attribution. V'chida dahacha, and here hacha means zvachim. And the chida, the shitas yachi there in zvachim, which is the shita Rabbi Meir, that one is prohibited from mixing truma and karbanos together. It's stam tamon. It's like our stam mishnah, because our stam mishnah says you're not allowed to mix and match truma and shmita. Ella. So how do we reconcile the two? Stam dahacha, the stam mishnah meaning in zvachim, where it says that.
Our problem is that we don't like the fact that it's the stam.
Stam Mishnah I still reconcile, because the Stam Mishnah by us says you can't mix Truma and Shemitah, and the Stam Mishnah over there says that you can mix Truma and Karbanos. Both cases where the Chashash should be the same, then you're going to end up causing a loss to Truma. So it says
one is liquid and the other is solid.
It won't make a difference. Not as far as I can think of in any event. El Stama, not as far as the Gemara doesn't use that distinction. El Stama the really add the Stam Mishnah over there in Zvachim. That's is like Rabbi Meir the Tamon is like Rabbi Meir by us, who says that again. It's also Rabbi Meir Shimon like Rabbi Shimon. Since that's the case, Rabbi Meir Rabbi Shimon also like Rabbi Shimon, and therefore we go like the Stam Mishnah by.
In our Mishnah?
I think I got it wrong again.
Rav Shimon Matar is here. Yeah, I know. Did they have that?
What?
Did our Gemara have Rav Shimon Matar in our Mishnah?
Yes.
Oh, in that case.
El Stama de Hacha.
Rav Meir is usually Matar anyway. Yeah, so it makes sense. It doesn't make sense in our Gemara.
Wait a second. El Stama de Hacha. No, I got mixed up again. This halcha goes back to the other direction. El Stam Halcha meaning the Stam Mishnah. El Stam Halcha, the Stam Mishnah in Shevi'is. Here it's Halcha means Shevi'is. Is Rabbi Meir the Taman? Is Rabbi Meir over there in Zvachim? And therefore we don't paskin like him, because our Stam Mishnah, which says that you're makbid not to mix and match Truma and Shemitah together, it's really like a mayor over there who holds that you're not allowed to mix and match Karbanos and Truma together. Right, Mayor, Rabbi Shimon, Mayor and Rabbi Shimon, halach Rabbi Shimon. Halach is like Rabbi Shimon, and therefore he passed Rabbi Shimon, the one is allowed to mix. Rabbi Yasser said, Ishta'ilus lilin de Rabbi Yanai. I asked those from the house of Rabbi Yanai, they said, Nehigin havan vevashlin al yad, we used to cook a very little amount at a time, v'ochlin, and eat it. What does that mean? So he says that we used to cook a very little bit of Shemitah and Truma together at the same time and eat it. In that case, we weren't suspect that the Truma wouldn't get eaten because we ate it on the spot. We didn't leave any leftovers. Says the Gemara, my kadol, what's the halacha? What's the bottom line? Halacha Rameir Talmon, halacha Rameir over there. To Rabbanan Dachlu is the Rabbanan over here, which means that one is not allowed to mix Truma and Shemitah fruit together. Okay? It's because of a beer issue. So after all said and done, it's Machlokas Tanan, we pass in L'chumra. V'achon achon.
So it turns out we pass like Rameir over our Mishnah.
Like Rameir in our Mishnah, right, because here it's brought down as a Stam Mishnah. Right. Okay? V'achon achon nitpas b'shvius. The last thing always becomes Shemitah. V'apriyatzma also, the fruit itself remains also. Tani, we learned about it. So, Kate, so what are we referring to? Lokach pei shvius basar. Let's say you use Shemitah fruit in order to buy meat. Elu ve'elu mizbar b'shvius. So both the fruit and the meat must be eradicated from your household in Shemitah. Lokach basar v'dogim, basar dogim. Let's say you use the meat to buy fish. Yatsa basar, so the meat loses its status of shemitah fruit. V'nit pusu dogim, and the fish get that status instead. Lokach dog bedogim shemen. If you use the fish which are now kodesh b'kedusha shmita to buy oil, yatsu dogim, then the fish lose their kedusha v'nifas shemen, and the oil gets the kedusha.
We've had this before. It's always the first and the last.
Right. This is actually in the Bavli in Sukkah. I'm not sure. I don't recall offhand where else it is.
Yeah.
He brings down in Bechoros. Sha'achron achron nitpas b'shvius. More recent, right? Each and every last commodity, first commodity, last commodity, always becomes shemitah. By priyatz mo'aser, as it says here, the fruit itself is also. B'amir Rabbi Yochanan, the answer Rabbi Yochanan, following question: Shvius ma'usha teitzi derech chilu. This whole conversation is almost verbatim in the Bavli in Masechta Sukkah. Can you redeem shemitah as you redeem anything else, like redeem Meiser Sheni? Mechala Meiser Sheni, you redeem it on the money which you have in your pocket. You do the same thing with shemitah. So he said, "V'lamalo, why can't you do it? Of course you can do the same thing. So you can redeem the kedusha shemitah, assuming it's a secondary kedusha, by just passing it on." Says Gemara of Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says, "No, ain't shviyus, it's derech chilul. One cannot redeem the kedusha shemitah el derech michir, only if you sell it. Doesn't fall off again, not off the first and last, but off all the middle stages." Masnisa Messiah, then Masnisa Messiah, then we have a brisa which supports each opinion here. Masnisa Messiah, Rabbi Yochanan, what's a brisa that supports Rabbi Yochanan? Says that chilul works. That time we learn called Mishiesh Biyoda, most midmei shviyus. Anybody who has shemitah money, who wrote to Chalon al Isoso, and he wants to redeem the money on his dough, Mechalalin, it says you're allowed to redeem it. Masnisa Messiah, Rabbi Lezer, that's a raya for Rabbi Lezer as well. The time we learned to buy some Mishesh, somebody who has a seller of Shemitah money, and he wants to buy himself a shirt, and he can't pay for the shirt with Shemitah money. What does he do? He goes to a storekeeper who recognizes him, who knows him. He says to him, give me the value of this coin in fruit. Who knows saying loan? Then he gives him the coin. Who knows Vuomerlo, and the storekeeper says, you know what, here, have the fruit for free. So it says, what do we see here? For sure. Chanvani Omerlo, I'm sorry. The Chanvani Omerlo, and then getting back to the storekeeper says, I don't know if I made this clear. Let me go back a line. What he does is, so he goes to a storekeeper who he knows. Normally he says, give me this value of this coin in fruit. Who knows him? The storekeeper gives it to him. He says to him, the buyer says to the storekeeper, here, take these flowers back as a gift. And the Chenvani then says to the storekeeper then says to the buyer, here you have this as a gift, this seller. And you can use it to buy a shirt. Again, I'm not satisfied the way I made this clear, so let me say it outside. Let's say I want to buy a fruit shirt, and all I have is Shemitah fruit, or Shemitah coins. So I need coins that I can use. Because I'm now allowed to pay for the shirt or the jacket with Shemitah coins. So what do? I say, here's a coin. Give me 5 pairs which correspond to that coin. But I don't buy the pairs yet. You give me the 5 pairs. Then I'm getting a mix up with the case later on.
And you give me the pairs back as a present. I give you the money back as a present.
Right, that's the point. Okay, I give you the money, you give me the pairs. Now the pairs do Shemitah, but the money doesn't.
Because it fell off.
Right, because it wasn't either the first or the last thing. Right, so the kedusha of the money fell off. So now I go to you and I say to you, or rather, you come to me and you say to me, here also is the fruit back. Pay me another time. In that case, he has the fruit, he has the money, and now we can go get the coat or the shirt. Is this clear at this point? Because I'm still not 100% sure. Let me explain one more time because I'm not sure explaining it well. Here's the fruit. Here's the money. The fruit is not kodesh b'kedusha shvius. The money is. So I say, here's the money. Give me the fruit. Okay, I have the fruit. Now the fruit is kodesh b'kedusha shvius. The money is not. Okay? Now I say, you know what? Here's the fruit back. It's a matana. That's okay, I give you as a matana. In the meantime, I take the money back. You, the storekeeper, give me back the money as a matana, not as a redemption. I can take this money and do whatever I want with it. Okay? You're stuck with Kedusha Shvi'is. But that's why it says Chenvani Arogil Etzlo, that one which the Chenvani Yeshua is going to make up for the difference later on in some way, shape, or form. And let's see what the next Gemara says. Rabbi Yochanan Shasi Cham Rabbi Yoy Prita. Rabbi Yochanan, in order to avoid the problem of paying for Shemitah wood or Shemitah fruit, when he went to the bar, he would first drink the wine and then pay. And he would pay after the wine was consumed. So that's a very interesting heter, because wine can only get Kedusha Shvi'is as a chil, in lieu of when it's on a level playing field. It's when
Time of transaction, that's not bad.
Right. In other words, when I give you money for you giving me the wine, but if you first were willing to give me the wine, let me drink down the glass, and then only afterwards I pay you, that money doesn't get Kedusha Shvi'is. Because by the time I'm paying you, there's nothing for it to take on, for it, so to speak, to draw as a magnet onto itself. Is that clear, Dr. Spinell?
So, but you got possession of it by drinking it, by picking it up and drinking it.
That's how you got possession of the wine.
Yes.
But when I pay him, his money doesn't become Kaddish Kedusha Shvi'is now. Because it wasn't given to kids with it. So therefore he has to come up with a way in which it's not going to have Kedusha Shvi'is on it. Okay? Ad Kedun, until now that works fine, Rabbi Yochanan, to Mishamin, because the storekeepers trust him to pay after the fact. Or Shakal Adam, but other people, Lo Mishamnim, which are not trustworthy to pay after the fact. So lo, what are they going to do? It won't work. So it says, Yaakov Barach b'shem Rabbi Amunas Avuna machvei bahu bahado machvei lei. He showed him, or he pointed at bahado nasiv lei bahado. He pointed at an individual. Well, actually, he himself did this. I apologize. Yaakov Barach named Ravuna. He used to go like this. He used to hold the money in his hand, go to the storekeeper, and go. I'm going to give you the money, but first, okay? So first he would drink and then pay, but in order to make sure storekeeper trusted him, he would show him the money up front and indicate that his intent was to pay. But by the time he paid, of course, he had drank the wine already, and therefore there's no Kedusha Shvi'is which devolved on the money. Okay? That's how we used to do it. Rabbi Yaakov, so that was me, Mechabila Badada would pay, show the money with one hand, Vidasa Bado, and take the cup with the other hand. Rabbi Chizkiya Amarlei, Havli Kumoi. Rabbi Chizkiya, when he used to come to the store, he was less trustworthy by them, so the storekeeper would say, put your money on the table, so I can see the money. Go do Amarlei Havli Kamoi. So since he said, show me the money, so command lo yevli meishvias havi. So obviously the money was waiting until after the transaction was finished, and at that point already he was not accepting shmita. The storekeeper was not getting the money directly for the wine, and therefore the money didn't get paid kedusha shvi'is. Okay.
Who said show me the money?
What was that?
Show me the money.
Is that a sports thing or not a sports thing?
It was a movie about an agent for an athlete.
Okay. So anyway, that's a great idea. They would tell him, show me the money. All right. New Mishnah. Let's do halacha ches. Ein lo che'avadim v'karkos v'beim l'tmeya midvei shvi'is. One is not allowed to acquire anything which is not edible for Shemitah money. If you did acquire a non-edible commodity for your Shemitah money, even if it's an animal, but it's a pig, you have to eat a corresponding amount of your property, of your food, with Kedusha Shemitah to correspond to what you gave for this other non-kosher animal, etc. A woman is muchuyah to bring 2 birds, one of which is, of course, an olah, so she can't eat that, and it says lo'achla, you have to be able to eat. So if a woman brought kinei zavim, a set of birds because she was zava, kinei zavos, well, he was a zava, she was a zava. Kinei yoldos, and a set of birds for women who gave birth, midmei Shevi'is, after you brought all this from Shemitah money, you aim of you. You can't bring this to any of this in Shemitah money. Maybe if you did bring these commodities which are inedible for Shemitah money, so then Yocha Kenegah, you have to eat a corresponding amount with Kedusha Shevi'is corresponding to what you misspent on buying the stuff which is forbidden to buy during Shemitah. Says Maram Rabbi Yasser said, Zosmer, this teaches us, also Adam Likach Isha Mipero Shevi'is, a person is not allowed to buy a wife from Shemitah money because he's getting Hanor from the Shemitah money, which is not eating. He's marrying. It's not eating. The locaine, because if not, Ma'bin Akona Isha, Ma'bin Akona Shivcha, reason number 1 why we don't learn Yerushalmi Daf Yomi with women. What's the difference if you buy a wife or if you buy a slave? Well, it's not like this anymore. But in the old days, the good old days, right? You couldn't buy a woman of any sort with Shemitah money because it's considered to be improper use. You're supposed to eat Shemitah money. Okay? Now let's go back to the Mishnah, please. Ein sachin kelim b'shemen shel Shevi'is. One is not allowed to rub vessels, pottery and such like, with Shemitah oil, obviously, because that's not using it to eat. Vim sach, if you did, yochal kenegdo, you have to eat a corresponding amount. Or shesacha b'shemen shel Shevi'is. What if you took a hide and tanned it with Shemitah oil? So lake. Eliezer says you have to burn it. And probably Eliezer says the same thing in the Reisha. That a keli, if you couldn't get out all the oil, which is Shemitah oil, you have to burn it when the Zman biur comes. So it's literally doing a biur. You really have to burn the commodity and substance. You have to burn the oil or burn the garments which are made from Shemitah fruit.
In the case of the pot, isn't it improving the pot so that you can use it for cooking?
Right.
So even though it's
improving the pot, it's not permissible. Right. Okay. I'm for Rabbi Akiva. So they said for Rabbi Akiva. Well, I'm not sure if I read that line. Chachamim omrim yocha kenegdo. He just opposite eats corresponding to what he gave for these purposes of anointing with oil. I'm lifnei Rabbi Akiva, so he said with Rabbi Akiva this machlokas. Omer Rabbi Eliezer or shesach b'shem shel Shevi'is lidoig. Our Rabbi Eliezer said that if you have pie which is smoked which is soaked in Shemitah oil, that you have to burn it. So on this he says, Omer lehem Rabbi Akiva said shtoku, be silent. Well, Omer lechem Masha Rabbi Eliezer. I don't even want to tell you what Rabbi Eliezer say about this issue. It's an amazing thing. You never see this anywhere in Mishnah. Okay, says the Gemara is going to explain. Time learned shemen shel Shevi'is, Shemitah in chosim v'otan v'kran, can't use it to fortify a stove of any sort. V'lo sachin bo minal v'sanalin, can't use it to shine your shoes. So Adam is ravo, a person should not anoint his foot. V'soch minolo, as long as the foot is within a shoe. Sandala, or within a sandal, because then in essence you're also anointing the shoe or the sandal, which is forbidden. But first you can anoint your foot, but no satoch minolo, then put your foot into your shoe, or into your sandal. And you can anoint yourself with oil lavishly as long as it's on your flesh itself. And then it can roll on the table. You don't have to be afraid of that. But you cannot put it on a marble platform, a marble table, in order to in order to roll yourself or use the oil, because some of it will get absorbed into the table. Shin Gamliel Matir says either none will get absorbed, be a negligible amount, and therefore it's allowed to do this even on a table. Says Gemara, do you have a header? Lo'omar lechem ma v'chulei? Okay. Ma Rabbi Lezer. What did Rabbi Lezer say, which Rabbi Akiva didn't want to reveal? So naturally, Rabbi Akiva didn't want to reveal, but the Gemara, in its insatiable curiosity, they want to know what Rabbi Akiva said. And of course, this being Gemara, we have two options. Amar Rabbi Yasser said that what Rabbi Akiva now want to reveal is that Rabbi Lezer was extremely machmir. When he said Hitolek, he didn't mean that the garment which was suffused with truma oil should be burnt, or that the vessel which is suffused with truma oil should be burnt. No, he meant that's most of shosel ishisarfu. They should burn the guy for using Shemitah fruit in order to be the oil to anoint the vessel, right? That was one opinion, that was what Rabbi Lezer said, that he was too machmir. Rabbi Akiva didn't want to say it over. So the reason Rabbi Akiva didn't want to tell it over because it's too great a kula, because he said mutter. He said, well, even if you anointed a hide or a vessel with Shemitah oil, it still continues to be mutter afterwards. Okay, let's go back to the Mishnah a minute. Another case in point. They said yet further instead in front of him. You say somebody who eats bread from kutim, from Samaritans, literally here, it's as if he's eating pig. So that's what they said in the name of Rabbi Lezer. So Rabbi Akiva said to them, "Shtoku, I'm going to be silent. But I don't want to tell you what Rabbi Lezer has to say about this issue." So what do you want to say? I'm Rabbi Yasser. Back to the Gemara. Rabbi Yasser said, "This teaches us what Rabbi Lezer says, that this teaches us this halacha should also be so bito shalmor. You're not allowed to marry the daughter of an Amoritz. Now, why is that? Because the kuti's bread is also because we're afraid he didn't take off challah. So too, we're afraid if you marry an Amoritz's daughter that she's not going to take off challah. So therefore, our Mishnah, we learn a great chumrah not to marry somebody who you're afraid is not going to take off the challah. Rabbi Chizkiya b'shem Rav Acha Amar, here too, we say Rabbi Lezer, that which Rabbi Akiva now want to tell over is a special kula Rabbi Lezer had. Rabbi Lezer said, Chemton shel kutim la'achar pesach mutar miyad, that the chometz, which belongs to Samaritans, is mutar to pesach immediately. They don't keep chometz shava pesach. They immediately switch it over into commodity which is permissible to keep at that time. Okay, back to the Gemara Mishnah. Merchat shuska b'tevin. By the way, have we done two blot yet?
No,
blot and a half. We have to get on base, right?
We have to get Chafim and Aleph.
Chafim and Aleph. We start on Chav Gimel and Aleph.
Yeah.
Okay, merchat shusak b'tevin. If you have a bathhouse which was heated with hay, or bekash, or with straw, shel Shevi'is, mutar lichot bo, what is allowed to wash in it. However, if he's a chashva person, you can't wash in the bathhouse. And the reason why this is so, the Kabbalah brings down, is because then they're going to put in all sorts of herbs and spices to make the bath smell good, which might have Shemitah kedusha to them. So in that case, it would be prohibited. Okay?
But the straw had Shemitah.
What?
Kedusha.
No. It's wood.
Oh.
The truth is, he brings down here that even he brings down another answer, probably a better one, that what it's to bathe on itself is like malugma. It's like making a bland bandage, which we said is permissible. Okay, assuming that it's a tree which is made for the purpose of.
That would be according to the Mount Yom, that we.
No, the malugma is always mutter. Kvis and rechitza were
I
Charlotte.
understand. But
Even the chachamim home malugma is mutter. That's for.
you were saying that bathing is like malugma?
Bathing is like malugma, yes, but only to use wood for fuel, which normally would not have been used for food otherwise. So it's malugma wood intended for the purpose of malugma. Okay? Says Gemara, harder to tamar be'ilin du musai. When are you allowed to use the bath, even if they're using Shemitah stuff to stoke it, when it's a public bath? But on be'ilin part to buy it, but if it's a private bath, then also it's forbidden because we're afraid they're going to add fire or add herbs and stuff to the fire for you who are there personally, and therefore we're afraid that they're going to use actual Shemitah stuff bona fide. Says Mark further this regarding Yitzchashim if a person was an outstanding person, literally a person of form, he's not allowed to wash. Says Gemara Kada, in similar case vis-a-vis Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Shimon Levi also mean Lula Beis Guvrin. Rabbi Shimon Levi is going for Lula Beis Guvrin, but begin Mischei in order to take a bath, which is very far away. Shimon Lakish have a Batzra. It's a similar ma'aser. Shimon Lakish was in Batzra. He saw that they were pouring libations for Aphrodite, whose Aphrodite, whose idol was in the bathhouse. So he said, "Lace Osir." I don't understand. How can they? In that case, how can they use the bathhouse? The bathhouse itself should become also because using it for illicit purposes. Also, Shal Rabbi Yochanan came and asked Rabbi Yochanan what the story is. Rabbi Yochanan Rishim ben Yotzadak. Rabbi Yochanan named Rishim ben Yotzadak. Ain't Davar Sharabi Nesar. Since the bathhouse belonged to the masses, therefore the fact that some people brought their little carbon for Aphrodite, that doesn't answer the bathhouse on the masses.
We had this in Avodah Zarah.
Yeah, we did have it in Avodah Zarah. Okay. 9th parak. Piga. These are obscure vegetables which are not generally eaten, or at least not generally cultivated, and therefore they have no bona fide Shemitah. Okay? Pigam, Virzuvin, Ashoti, Vachala, Glugos, Kuzbar Shabaharin, that's a type of coriander which is in the hills, Vakarpas, and a type of green which is in the river, Vagagar Shalofa, another type of vegetable. Peturim Mena Masers, they're exempt from Meiser because they're all hefker. And Kochim call them Mashitz can buy from anybody during Shemitah because there's no assumption of biur because they're all hefker. Shein Kayot Tzvem Nishmar, nothing of that sort is safe kept by anybody anywhere in the world unless they're absolutely insane, and they're the type of people who also would collect stuff which has no, cultivate stuff which has no inherent value to it. Okay? Rabbi Chaga said, now off on a tangent. Rabbi Chaga said the word serugin, the word chala glugos, which appears in our Mishnah, and those are two words and also a concept. Mikado, who's greater than another person, the person who's chachma, wiser, or bishanim, or smarter, or older than another person, who goes first through a door or for a kibbutz, etc. So we're approaching this. We approach the shaila. It's rachas chavraya. Chaga said, I asked my buddies what to do. Armin, and they said, let's go ask the people in the house of Rebbe, they'll know all the answers. Soka Mishal, they went to the house of Rebbe to ask. V'yotza Shivcha Mishal Beis Rebbe, a certain maidservant came out from the house of Rebbe. V'armalan, she said to him, Hikonsu L'shanim, come in the oldest first. So we see when we give cover based on age before wisdom. Armin Yale Palan Kadmoi, Yale Palan Kadmoi. So she said, first let so-and-so go in, then let the other guy come in. Show an island, Kitin. So she saw them coming up in bunches. So she said to him, say Rugin, why are you coming in spurts? So from this we learned so far two of the three things, the two words. Say Rugin means in bursts, one after another, and Chaloglugos is a type of I didn't do that here. Sorry. We just learned to say Rugin so far. And Migada b'chochmo v'shonim, who's greater, and we said a person who's older is granted more respect.
Rugin in Bava Kama is like every other, you skip one.
Right, but here I don't think you skip one. I mean, they all went in, but here it just means they went in and burst. So, Amar Len, so she said to me, why are you coming in Rugin? So here we see that how you know that Rugin means in burst. Chad. Now, finally, the third question which we had, Chad the Bei Rebbe, Havel Toim Parparchanim Begulse. Certain individual from the house of Rebbe was carrying a vegetable called Parparchanin in his gulse, I guess is his hat. No, in his belt. They fell from him. Amalei, so this Shifcha said to him, Rebbe, my master, nispazu chalaglugusacha, your chalagglugos, which he says here is the English spice purslane, which I don't know exactly what that is, type of spice, so it's scattered all over the place. So we know from this, all three questions were answered even before they entered Rebbe's house by the Shivcha-based Rebbe. Because now they know that Serugin means a burst, Chalagglugos means purslane, and that who's greater, the person who's older, he gets precedence in going through, etc., etc. Okay? Mao karpas shebenaharos, what's karpas in the rivers? Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, petrosilni nun, which is parsley. Why are Seah and Esav Cornis, which are similar in nature, why are they not mentioned in our Mishnah? You know, you shouldn't draw any artificial distinctions, which you would have to draw otherwise. That you have to say that these, if they're Nishmar in the Chotzer, they're Chayev. And these, if they're Nishmar, even the Nishmar in the Chotzer, they're growing under lock and key, so to speak. The Chotzer, they're still potter because nobody grows them wild, and therefore nobody grows them domesticated, and therefore, even if they're Nishmar in the Chotzer, they're still exempt. El Elu ve'elu, so there are no distinctions made, and therefore we say like this. Both these commodities, if they are safe kept in a courtyard, chayovin, they're chayav in shmita. B'shalo tomar, and on the other hand, that you shouldn't say el nishmar begina chayovin, ve'el nishmar begina pturim. That these, if they're safe kept in the countryside, in the gardens, they are required to have the limitations of shmita fixed to them. Ve'el nishmar begina pturim, and these are exempt. So elu ve'elu, therefore we didn't differentiate. We said rather both of them, even if they are being safe kept in a courtyard, peturin, they are exempt from shemitah and all that. If that's the case, if they're all exactly similar, there are halachos. Why only just mention not the other stuff which could have been mentioned as cases where they're exempt from shemitah. So in order, in our Mishnah, we're bringing all sorts of subcategories of stuff which generally is nishmar, but these specific subcategories are not nishmar, and since they're not nishmar, therefore they're not susceptible to kedusha Shevi'is. So in these there's a special chiddush. That's why these were enumerated here as opposed to any other one, right? So again, do not say just because most of these types are planted, uvayin minasar, and therefore they are safe kept by the people who are safe keeping them improperly during Shemitah and Avera. Therefore, I'll say you asurin that these men's mitzvah should be also lufum kain tzarich l'meimar mutar, and that's why I say that they are permissible. Okay, in other words, that specifically our cases that are mentioned in our Mishnah were questionable ones, were controversial ones. That's what they're mentioned in order to make that clear. Now let me make that clear myself just a little bit before we go on. What has Kedusha Shevi'is? Only vegetables which are generally safe kept. If they're not generally safe kept, so then they don't have Kedusha Shevi'is. It happens to be if they were safe kept and they become also altogether, they become shomer. Except according to Chazon Ish, that's what we said a few minutes ago. Chazon Ish and the Badatz have the Machlokas, where it actually was shomer, right? Does it become also altogether? He can still eat it. So that's shomer mamish. But be that as it may, by shomer mamish, the basic criterion that something should have kedusha Shevi'is is that it should be shaykh to the parsha of Shimur. Now, the question was by these things. So some of them, the things we mentioned, which are not mentioned in our Mishnah, they're never nishmar. That's pashut that they're mutter, right? The things mentioned in our Mishnah sometimes are nishmar and sometimes aren't. In other strains of that category, they are nishmar. In this strain, they're not nishmar. Therefore, we're telling you that in this strain, they're permissible. Okay? And one thing, again, which I want to stress, which is it doesn't depend whether it's in the chutzner or the gina. It depends whether it's nishmar here or nishmar not, and therefore each vegetable is going to have various different parameters of biur and when the biur is. Okay? There's no general overriding principle. We're just speaking here in generalities. Okay? Says more further. Maushu asur mishum smichim. What happens if these stuff, the kind of stuff mentioned in our Mishnah, grows in your grain fields, do I consider it to be svichim, which means stuff which goes in on its own during Shemitah, which is also. So it says, when the Shemitah may adults learn from the following case, it's seen we learned over there, we don't mer svichei charda mutorin. Any type of mustard which grows wild is permissible. Lo amar ela shalom nechshedu aleim over aver. Why pick mustard? Because people don't plant mustard. There's enough wild mustard growing, people don't have to plant it. Velu helveno nechshedu aleim over avera. Well, so similar things as those mentioned in our mission, which are similar to mustard, and that people are not suspect to go and plant them. Therefore, I say that even if they grew in the middle of a grain field, where it looks like they're being cultivated, they don't have the Isur Svichim, and one is allowed to eat them during Shemitah. Okay, one's allowed to use them during Shemitah. Do we up to 3 blot yet?
3?
I mean 2. Sorry,
Yeah.
2. Where's the next?
There's the next break.
Yeah, is there 2 dots coming up?
2 dots about.
I mean, I have a break here, but is there an actual 2 dots coming up?
Lines down.
Where are we up to? Show me.
We're about the 3rd line at the top.
Let's go. Okay, so let's go for. Let's go back to Mishnah. Okay, let's go back to Mishnah. We're so spectacularly behind. How today's plan is what? I have it here. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be in Shumas. Yes. The first day Sukkot is supposed to have started Shumas. Where Lamed Aleph is the last, so we're more than a week behind it yet. Today's Chaf. Today is supposed to be in Davov and Shumas.
Wow.
What? Oh, Shumas is a small block. Okay, came back to Mishnah for a minute. Rabbi Omer Svichei Charda Mutarim. So Shada Rabbah can go a little bit overtime. It's already a little bit overtime. Go a lot overtime. Rabbi Omer Svichei Charda Mutarim. Svichim of Chardal are permissible. Do you see that in the Mishnah? Why? Because Shlo Nechshedu Aleim Over Aver. They grow what people don't cultivate them. So they're not cultivated. So therefore, the prohibition of svichim doesn't apply to them. Svichim is stuff which might be cultivated. So therefore, the stuff which goes wild is also as well. But nobody cultivates chardal. Shomer kol svichim mutarim. All svichim are mutar. Chutz misvichei kruv, except for cabbage svichim. Shein kayetz b'hem yaroko soda, because there's nothing similar to them in the vegetables. The field and Gemara will explain what that means. Chachom armim. Chachom saying this way we paskin. Kol asvichin asurim. All svichim are prohibited, regardless. Now, that doesn't preclude Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll see immediately in the Gemara. Let's go back to the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Ad kedun zaro shel chardo. Mustard seed we know is permissible. What about yarko? What about the mustard vegetable? Bet you didn't know there was a mustard vegetable. Neither did I. Live and learn. So, efsher meimar zaro mutar.
The Sukkot Bas was only about seeds?
Yeah.
What is about the plant?
The plant is full of seeds. It's like sunflower seeds. Okay? So it says more, Efsher Meimar Zara Mutar, if you consider, well, I don't know if you have this line exactly the way I have it, but the way my line reads, can you possibly say, what you would say, it's possible to say, Zara Mutar, its seed is permissible. Yarko Lokoshkin is not a kavachomer, that its vegetable, which is less significant, is mutar as well. And we have a proof for this. Rishim ben Lakish Hava b'Chukok. It was in the region of Chukok. Chamsu megalgin b'ani chardal. He saw them dealing with mustard seed there. Nafal minei. So he saw one mustard fall down. V'lo nasiv lei, and the fellow did not pick it up. Omar, so he said, Man the maisle chardla. If somebody ever brings me mustard during Shemitah, on Amar Rabbi Yehuda, I go to pass Rabbi Yehuda that there is no svichim because I see it's not choshev. Nobody bothers to cultivate them. They don't even bother to pick it up if it falls down. So therefore, mustard must not be in the parameters of the prohibited svichim. Okay, says more Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Zavda, Hore Rabbi Chunya de min Chavron. bebeis Chavron. Rabbi Chunya from Chavron Paskin and beis Chavron Ke'adot Rabbi like Rabbi Yehuda who said that Svichim of Basler or Mutter. Rabbi Chananya Hore L'Tzipori B'Svichei Chayadal. Rabbi Chananya Paskin in Tzipori by mustard, like Rabbi Yehuda, which is a kula. Ukebeitza, but by beitza shnola b'yontif, like Rabbi Yehuda, which is a chumrah. Now, beitza shnola b'yontif means if an egg is born, if an egg is laid on yontif, it's also on the next day when the next day is Shabbos. Okay, like our case, if an egg is laid on Friday, Simchas Torah, it's usher on Shabbos, which comes afterwards. That's how we paskin for them. Okay, so all Rabbi Yochanan b'darish k'rabbanan da'acha. So Rabbi Yochanan came into town, into Beis Chavron, to Tzipori, and paskin like Rabbanan that mustard tzvichim are usher, and Rabbanan tamon, and like Rabbanan that a beitza shnol de b'yontiv is mutter on Shabbos. So he paskin the exact opposite. Rabbi Abba bar Zminam b'shem Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Abba bar Zminam said Rabbi Yitzchak mean kamei ilain tarte milin milaya because of these two psakim. Nachas Rabbi Yochanan mean Tzipori. The fair Rabbi Yochanan was kicked out of Tzipori, and he went to Tveria because he paskin against Rabbi Chanina, who seems was the posek in Tzipori. Okay, says more Omar Masisun Lu Gagabe Agabe Ahun Dayana Saba. What am I going to do there in that town by that old judge? The E Anashari who also, if the I matir something, if I matir something, he asks it on Asar. If I ask something, he's matir it, and therefore I'm leaving Tzipori, where Rabbi Chanina is, packing up my bags, and moving to Tveria, where I can pass it on my own. Rabbi Abba, Asa uvdo kum Rabbi Asa. A case came from Rabbi Asa. Ubol mevad uvdo Rabbi Yochanan. One pasuk Rabbi Yochanan, who was matir beitza shnol lebiyontiv on the Shabbos, which came precedes it. Not precedes it, follows it. Kachama the Rabbi Chanina palo tarveim pligin. When you hear the Rabbi Chanina both aser saramine, he removed himself from the case and will refuse to be matir it. Where do we have such a case? There's a machlokas, shiur psila. What if you have a candle which you lit on Shabbos? This is where Shabbos follows Yontif. Same idea. Yontif follows Shabbos. Same idea. Yontif following Shabbos and Shabbos following Yontif. It's no difference. Okay, but he happens to be talking about a case here where Yontif followed Shabbos and you lit candles on Shabbos, and the wicks burned down, but not completely. Now the next day Yontif, you want to use those wicks, which are muktzah on Shabbos, right? Can use them now. Shar psila, shar medula, leftover bonfire. Shar Hashem, leftover oil. Shekova Shabbos, which all went down Shabbos. Ma'al alikim b'yontif, can use them on the next day, which is Yontif. So Rabbi Chanina, Tarvayin, Omron, also, they both said it's forbidden. You're not allowed to do so. Rabbi Yochanan Mar Mutar, Rabbi Yochanan says it's permissible. Now, what's the comparison between the cases? Rabbi Muna, I don't think you have this girsa. But Rabbi Muna, come Rabbi Yudan, Man of Chilol Psila Gabe Beitza. Who turned our wick into an egg? We're talking about eggs, we're talking about wicks. What's the comparison? So he said, no. So he said, Man the Anan Chamin Rabbanim Medamel, since we saw a parallel between that the rabbis made between the two cases. Hadama Ra, this teaches us, he Adah, they are the same case, meaning that there's a special shiur called Hachana de Rabbah. That Chazal forbade, it's based on a pasuk, but I think if I recall correctly, Masechta Beitza, pasuk and Asmachta. Chazal forbade that Yontif should prepare for Shabbos or Shabbos for Yontif. It's also okay. That which now there's certain cases which it's mutter, eruv tavshilin, ochel nefesh, things like that. But generally speaking, by an egg which is laid on Yontif before Shabbos, you can't use the next day. That's called a Chana de Rabbah. Yontif cannot be meichen l'Shabbos, and vice versa. Shabbos can't be meichen l'Yontif. So that the Isser of Chana de Rabbah is the same in both directions, and applies whether it be to an egg or to a wick, which is burning in a candle on Shabbos. If it burned down on Shabbos and left something, you can't use it on Yontif. That's a Chana de Rabbah. The 2 days cannot prepare one for the other and vice versa. So that's why the issues are parallel, and therefore you find a chumrah in one, we have to be machmer in the other. Tanya we learn Mishumar Baz Kedimon. With the name of the four elders, they said a different case, but we're bringing it down because it's correlated. Called Nechel Eruv Berishon. Let's say you put it on Erev Tchumin for the first day Yontif, and Nebuchadnezzar got eaten on the first day Yontif, so you don't have it anymore on the second day Yontif, right? Hareu Kibnei Iro B'Sheni. On the second day Yontif, you're like the other people in your city. This is true also if Yontif follows Shabbos or Shabbos follows Yontif. The same idea. As long as the Erev is not there the second day, when the second day commences, you don't have the Erev for the second day. Rav Huna B'Shem Rav said, "Alo Karbas Keinim." Now this is difficult. Rav Chisda Boy asked the Kasha, "Milchafa Shitasi the Rav seems to be a contradiction in Rav." Tamanov Shtei Kedushos. By Achona, the rabbi, he said, one day cannot prepare for the other day. The Beit should only be Yontif is also on Shabbos and vice versa, right? And so if that's the case, the car you're saying shiur now?
No, 6 o'clock.
Oh, 6 o'clock, okay. A few hours, right?
Do it early.
The car of a kedusha achas. And here he makes it one kedusha, meaning that, Taman of l'shtei kedushas by the Erev Tchumin, it's two separate kedushos, right? That if it's laid on one day, it's not good for the second day unless it's still actually extant. But here, by the case of Achona de Rabbah, by the case of the wick and the egg, so we said that which is usher on one day because it's part and parcel of the candle cannot be used then on the other day, or the beitz which is known on Yontif cannot be used on Shabbos and vice versa. So what's the as we learned, these spalgun shari psil leftover wicks, shari medur leftover fires, shari shem leftover oil, shakavu b'Shabbos, which are burnt out on Shabbos. Ma'ali can be allowed to burn them on life and then Yontif. Rav Rabbi Chini Tarvein Ramadi also both said it's also. Rabbi Yochanan Mutar, Rabbi Yochanan said it's permissible. So, how do we reconcile the two Ravs? We're still on the same track as before. Amrai Mana Kumir Rabbi Adan Mana Chalul Msilo Gabi Beitz Utur that are wick into an egg. Vamilon we said Miman Ve'am Chamrin V'Rabbanim Medamalo. Since we saw the rabbis compare the two, Hadamra Hiada, so they're both the same case. Now. The Gemara doesn't seem to answer it, but the way he says, the Kavanaki, that Rabbi Mona is coming in fact to answer the question. And he's saying that in terms of Achona, there's two issues here, which is, one issue is the issue of whether the 2 days are the same. And they're not. And therefore you have an Erev Tchumin for day one, it doesn't help for day two. Unless it's physically extant by day two. The other issue is the issue of Achana de Rabbah. And Achana de Rabbah is applicable even if they're not the same Kedusha. Even if they're two separate Kedushos. That's the Takonas Chazal. Shabbos cannot be Meichen for Yontif, and Yontif cannot be Meichen for Shabbos, unless, of course, as we said before, you've left them put an Erev Tavshilin before Yontif, in which case in certain areas, Yontif can be Meichen for Shabbos. But that's the bottom line. But the way he's learning this, Rabbi Mona Kumi Rabbi Yudan said that, although I don't see it in the Gemara, the way he's saying it is that the two separate days, and that's why you Erev Tchumin for one doesn't work for the other. But nonetheless, what we say is that vis-a-vis Achana de Rabbah, special issue in and of itself, one day cannot prepare for the other day. Therefore, the wick which burned down on Shabbos, or the egg which is born on Shabbos, cannot be used on Yontif, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. Okay, do you have a 2 dots yet? Did we get to 2 dots? What?
We just hit it 2 dots.
We just hit 2 dots? Okay, so we'll stop here for tonight.
Can I raise a question? I know the shiur is etched in